Whether it's the case of a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, or the claim of completely obliterating Iran's nuclear sites, Donald Trump's assertions have always been a target for critics. It's often said that these claims are either incomplete or have very little truth to them. Donald Trump informed the entire world about the attack on Iran's nuclear sites, simultaneously stating that Iran's nuclear program was now finished forever. To emphasize his point, he specifically used the word obliterated, meaning it had been wiped out. However, later reports revealed that Iran's nuclear sites had actually sustained very minimal damage. This intelligence report came from the U.S.'s own Defense Intelligence Agency and was somehow leaked to the media. When these reports were published, Trump lashed out at CNN and the New York Times, sharply criticizing them and demanding that the reporters who worked on the story be fired. But Trump's reaction only seemed to reinforce the suspicion that the report was true. Later, an Iranian news agency, Amwaj Media, also reported that Iran had been informed before the attack and was told it would be a one-time event. But this wasn't the first time Donald Trump had been caught in a lie. Donald Trump's life is filled with various kinds of scandals, false claims, and fraud. Let's take a look at some of Donald Trump's caught false statements. Donald Trump has made thousands of false or misleading statements to date. Fact-checkers at the Washington Post have recorded that Trump made 3,573 false or misleading claims during his first term. That means he lied an average of 21 times a day. And Canada's Toronto Star newspaper recorded 5,276 of his false statements from 2017 to 2019. Initially, many news agencies hesitated to call Trump's lies lies, but after June 2019, they began openly calling these statements false. Steve Bannon, a close associate of Trump, who was the CEO of his 2016 election campaign, said that Trump's real enemy wasn't the Democrats, but the press, and the way to deal with them was to put out so much confusion and so many statements that people couldn't focus on any single issue. After the 2020 U.S. presidential election, Donald Trump and his supporters repeatedly made the false claim that there had been massive voter fraud, and that if not for this fraud, Trump would have won the election. This is a fraud on the American public. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. This repeatedly stated claim was seen by some as an example of Hitler's propaganda strategy, the big lie. Tell a lie so big that people start to believe it. The New Republic is a well-known American magazine. Their experts say that Trump's statements aren't just lies, they're bullshit. They don't even have any meaning. Many professors, analysts, and political observers say that politicians have always lied, but Trump is completely different in this regard. Carol McKernan, who was an American ethnologist in 2017, says lying in politics is common, but Donald Trump is a leader who has mastered the art of lying. Historian Douglas Brinkley says that some U.S. presidents have occasionally misled the country, but there has never been a president like Trump who lies so repeatedly and habitually. Some experts have even said it wouldn't be wrong to call Trump the biggest liar in U.S. history. Once he instructed his press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, to just keep repeating any statement, no matter what, and people would believe it. When Grisham left her job, she revealed this in front of the media. He told me, "It doesn't matter what you say, Stephanie, just say it enough and people will believe you." This is called the illusory truth effect. And this was a technique Hitler used. It involves making a lie so common that it starts to seem like the truth. In 2018, the Washington Post created a new category called Bottomless Pinocchio. This category was for people who had repeated the same lie at least 20 times. And astonishingly, Donald Trump was the first, and so far only, politician to have 14 of his statements immediately fall into this category, meaning he deliberately and repeatedly lied. CNN fact-checker Daniel Dale says Trump mixes in so many new lies that the media can't keep up. By repeating lies over and over, he exhausts the media's attention. In 2011, Celeste Trump first said in an interview that Barack Obama wasn't born in the U.S. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He has shown it. A certificate of live birth is something easy to get. Therefore, he had no right to be U.S. president. For the next 5 years, in various interviews and his election campaign, he kept criticizing Barack Obama, claiming he was born in Kenya, not the U.S., because his birth certificate was never made public. This claim became so common that people actually started to doubt Obama. Eventually, Barack Obama was forced to release his birth certificate, and that's when Donald Trump's lie was caught. It clearly stated that Obama was born in Hawaii, U.S., in 1961, but instead of admitting his lie, Donald Trump shifted the blame onto someone else. In 2016, Donald Trump finally accepted that Obama was a U.S. citizen, but then he accused Hillary Clinton, saying she was the one who claimed Obama was born in Kenya. The BBC confirmed that Hillary Clinton had never made such an accusation against Obama. It said about Trump that he doesn't just lie, he produces bullshit. According to Harry Frankfurt's famous 2005 book on bullshit, a liar knows the truth and hides it. A bullshit artist, on the other hand, simply doesn't care whether what they're saying is true or false. Washington Post columnist Eduardo Porter says Frankfurt's definition fits Trump perfectly. For example, when Trump became president, he blamed previous U.S. administrations for unemployment and inflation figures without ever checking the actual numbers. Investigations show that Donald Trump's habit of lying is quite old. In 1984, GQ magazine published a profile of Trump where he claimed, "I own the entire block on Central Park South and the Avenue of the Americas." But GQ wrote that Trump actually owned only 2 buildings, which made up just a sixth of the block. Another lie of his came to light the same year. In 1984, to get on the Forbes list of the 400 richest Americans, Trump gave a Forbes reporter false information about his wealth and made the list. At the time, he claimed his wealth was X million, but his actual wealth was only Y million. Not only that lie, but Trump's spokesman at the time was John Barron, and audio recordings revealed that when Trump spoke to the Forbes reporter, he pretended to be John Barron. Since then, Forbes magazine has had a special rule for Donald Trump. Forbes editor Randall Lane explained in an MSNBC interview, "For the last 30 years, we calculate Trump's wealth by taking whatever he says and dividing it by 3. Not only that, after the 1987 stock market crash, Donald Trump claimed to the media that he hadn't suffered any losses because he had sold all his stocks a month earlier. But his lie was exposed when U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filings showed that Trump had actually lost $19 million in the crash. The list of Donald Trump's lies or fabricated stories is so long it seems endless. In 2009, Donald Trump bought a luxury golf course in Florida named Trump National Golf Club. When Trump became its owner, he had a monument erected on the course. The monument claimed that a bloody Civil War battle had been fought there, with so many casualties that the river ran red with blood, and Trump's name was inscribed below it, as if he were a great historian. When actual historians saw this claim, they stated that no Civil War battle had ever occurred at that site. Civil War expert Richard Gillespie said the story was completely false. Trump had deliberately used the Civil War to manipulate people's emotions. When questioned about it, Trump instead started insulting the historians. That's not all. Trump has repeatedly claimed to have won 18 golf club championships, but he's only actually won 2. The other 16 wins were at clubs he either owned himself or that the Trump organization managed. Professional golfer Big Marucci revealed that Trump would tell club members that if anyone tried to beat him, their membership would be canceled. This shows that Trump has also used threats to back up his false claims. Tony Schwartz is a journalist and ghostwriter who actually wrote Trump's book The Art of the Deal. People think Trump wrote it, but Schwartz did. Schwartz later openly admitted that he made a big mistake by portraying Trump in a positive light. This book also contained many lies. For example, Trump wrote that his grandfather was American, but he actually came from Germany. He did this because, after World War II, Americans had developed a hatred for Germans, and anyone with a German background was looked down upon. During his 2016 election campaign, Trump claimed that in his 2000 book The America We Deserve, He had predicted the 9/11 attacks by Osama bin Laden. He also said that at a time when no one knew who Osama bin Laden was, he had written in the book that bin Laden should be killed. But this wasn't found anywhere in the book. In fact, people reminded him that Osama bin Laden had been on America's most wanted list for 3 years, since 1998. So, to gain attention during his campaign, he told this huge lie. When Donald Trump announced his presidential campaign in 2015, within 6 months, the famous fact-checking website FactCheck.org awarded him the title King of Whoppers, the King of Liars. The website stated that in their 12-year history, no single leader had told as many lies as Donald Trump. And the strangest part is that even when caught in a lie, Trump refuses to admit it. In 2016, he started spreading a bizarre conspiracy during the campaign. At that time, Ted Cruz was also running for the Republican presidential nomination, but Trump started spreading the claim that Cruz's father was involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, his father. And this thing, he repeated it so often that eventually Ted Cruz lost the election. But Cruz's father had absolutely no role in JFK's assassination. Trump just said it on a whim. But the story doesn't end there either. In 2015, BuzzFeed News reporter Andrew Kaczynski reported that while Trump often boasts about having the world's best memory, he also pretends not to know things when it benefits him. For instance, the Ku Klux Klan is an American extremist group, often shortened to KKK. These people have a racist, anti-black, anti-Jewish, and anti-immigrant agenda, and have been involved in violence and various crimes. David Duke is a famous former leader of this group. In 2016, David Duke said, "Vote for Trump. I support him." When Trump was asked if he would reject Duke's support, he simply replied, "Who is David Duke? And what is this KKK?" People were stunned. How could a presidential candidate not know about a group that every child knows? Either he genuinely didn't know David Duke, or he was pretending. And if he was pretending, there could be only one reason. The KKK and Trump share the same agenda. Yes, in 1970, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a racial discrimination case against Trump and his father. The accusation was that they wouldn't rent their apartments to black people. In 1991, Trump had also said, "I don't like black accountants." He has also repeatedly spoken about Mexican people, saying that Mexicans are mostly rapists and criminals. All these things reveal that there isn't much difference between the thinking of a white supremacist group, like the KKK, and Donald Trump. The saga of Trump's lies is so extensive that it's impossible to cover in a single video. In April 2022, Donald Trump was addressing a rally in North Carolina. The audience burst into loud laughter when Trump said, "I am the most truthful human being in the world." Hopefully, you all will also like and share this video. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.